Oh yeah, we are live. Oh
What?
yeah, yes.
Oh man,
I'm telling you
that
what.
means I gotta watch my language.
Um, for
I
YouTube's
mean, I
sake,
mean,
yes.
that means I gotta watch what I say.
Well, only for the children that are watching. Hi kids.
Hello, boys and girls.
Welcome to the Mad Men Show.
Uh, man, yeah, man, I'm
Get your
partner
sharing
right here.
done.
Yeah, let me
Get
see,
your,
man. I didn't even try that yet. You know
come
how
on,
we
get your
do.
sharing
You
done.
know how we do. Let me see if I can even
Come
do
on
that, man.
now.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can fumble around and look very um unprofessionalized.
Hey, we're
See
both
if
unprofessionalized today.
are we?
It's Thursday, Friday for me. Got tomorrow off. I'm excited. Easter Sunday. Hey,
What you doing tomorrow, man?
man, we're gonna do some racing tomorrow. Get some boys out of the track. It's gonna be a silly time.
What kind of racing? Oh, there we
Go
go.
karts.
Word.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
2 inches off the ground, 60 miles an hour. Good times, fun
You
stuff.
be go karting out there?
Hmm.
Word.
Yes, sir.
Where's that at? At Red Rock or the place by what?
Yeah, Vandermeer.
Yeah, Vandermeer. Huh.
Look, we already got 4 people. They are ready for this conversation. Hi,
Word
everybody.
up.
Go
Hello,
ahead and
boys.
like and share. Say hi. Tell your friends. Tell the kids to get out the room. We're
Did
about to
you
have some
tag me
adult
on this thing,
conversation.
man? Did you
Man,
tag
I
me on this
did.
thing? You
You know
did?
I did. Let me
Did you?
tag you again. Come on now.
Yeah, tag me on that thing, man.
I'm gonna have to add you as a button.
Can you add me as a button?
I can just add you on the thing and then it'll go straight to your screen. I should have done that already. I don't know what
Oh,
I'm thinking.
see.
Oh, why? What do you mean it's not responding? Come on, Facebook. So while we're doing our fumbly bumbly, everybody, welcome to the Madman of Masculinity show. Today,
Welcome to the Bad Bit of Masculinity show,
that's
everybody.
right. That's right. Let's see.
Uh,
I might have to close out and go back in. I guess my Facebook is not wanting to parlay.
so if you're watching us right now, wondering what in the
What is
badoos we
going
doing,
on?
this is normally the part of the show where we just kind of bumble around trying to share it on our timeline uh, which I think I'm about to do right now. I think it's easier when I do it on my phone.
Do it on your phone, man. Come
But
on.
this is
Oh,
normally where we try to bumble around, share it on our phone on our different variable timelines and pages and platform images, so that folks can see it do what it do. So this is normally this is normally the way we roll. If you happen to be watching us right now, all right. I think I did it a couple times.
okay, good.
So
Yeah,
now that we 3 minutes into this thing,
now we can get back. Now we can get to it. Oh,
now we can get to it. Now I can say, hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
and I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity, baby.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And
For
today,
you.
I guess we're having adult conversations today. Guess
Yeah, this is grown up stuff, man.
this is
Hey,
grown up stuff. Big boy
I
pants.
got a grown up question for you.
Oh, here we go.
You ever done something you regret? You regretted?
Mm, let's see. I'm a human male in my. Yes, I would think I have several
Hmm.
hundred.
Actually, that's a good question. If you were to ballpark the number of choices that you've made that have had negative consequences in your life right now, how many do you think that would be? Like
Wow.
ballpark.
Bulk.
Like significant, not like
Oh,
I made a left,
significant. Okay, not.
not like I made a left turn and I had to go buy more gas because I didn't go the right way around the block. I'm talking about stuff that you like, ooh, like you still paying for it right now.
See, and that's the thing because I can think of probably 20. And then on the other hand, as hindsight being 2020, I can see how those negative consequences kind of turned out good.
Hmm.
I guess that means I'm learning.
Yeah. Time out. Let me call it time. Let me call it training time out. First of all, I just want to man to man check in, man, and see how we doing today, man. Like scale of 1 to 10. Like, how's your heart? How's your head? How's your soul, your spirit of the man? Give me a 1 to 10 on each one of those, man. This is men's mental health check-in, man. I meant to do that, man. I meant to, let's do a mental, emotional,
A,
spiritual check-in.
a men's mental check-in.
Yeah, so 1 to 10 on each one.
I would say I'm probably about a good 7, 8 across the board.
Hmm.
I've made some decisions. I've surrendered to some things, and I've stopped chasing so much, and just got to a good place with myself. So I feel like things are going pretty well right now. So yeah, I
Hmm.
have to say I'm better than I was. I'm definitely better than
Hmm.
I was, but I can always get better. And
Yeah.
same question to you. I mean,
Hmm.
how are you feeling? How are you doing? What's on your heart?
I would say mental. I'm probably, mental space. I'm probably, I would give me a good solid 8.36. Um, Emotional, I would say I'm right up there at 9.5 plus. Like nine, like
Ooh, you
things are
balling.
good. Things are good up in this area right here in the heart region, man. Things are good, man. Things are pretty solid, man. I got some solid relationships, some solid intimacy in my life,
Nice.
some solid collection, that kind of thing. So up in that area, I'm
Up in
good.
this area right
Spirit,
here.
my spirit, my the spirit of who I'm, my spiritual being. Man, I feel like I'm still feeling pretty strong there too, man. I'm gonna give myself a good 9.5. I'm actually, speaking this weekend, man,
Mm,
and so I'm getting locked in that kind of way, and but yeah, man. So I think across the board, man. I think mentally, I get, I always kind of have a lot of things just kind of scrambling around in my brain, so it's hard for me to shoot way, way high on that a lot of times.
right.
There's always something spinning, but like I said, emotionally and spiritually, man, I'm pretty dope, man. I'm pretty
Yeah,
dope.
I have to say, I mean, if it wasn't for maybe it was just the self check-in, or maybe it was
Yeah,
just the asking myself those questions like, if this doesn't happen, would I still be okay? And
yeah,
surrendering to those things has really had an uplifting
yeah,
effect,
yeah,
because I think it's a lot of times those things we desire, we want, we chase, that some of the choices that we're hoping to make,
yeah,
if the right person or the right thing or the right circumstance happens,
yeah,
we're waiting for that to allow ourselves to build that inner happiness. And
yeah,
when we just surrender and just be present, and I think that's what has really shifted for me, because I just kind of was like, you know what, if this doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen, I'm still going to be all right. I'm still
yeah,
okay right now. And
yeah,
being present with that has really just the raise the rising tide raises all ships, has raised just me and a lot of my outlook on things in that
yeah,
way.
hmm,
And I think that's why we decided to do this, because there's been a lot of those things going on for both of us, where we're just going, all right, I've made these choices in the past, and that has led
yeah,
me to down this road to
yeah,
even doing this show together,
yeah,
and what have been the consequences of those things. And I think for us, especially doing what we do, sharing maybe some of those choices and the consequences could be beneficial to those watching right now, because
yeah,
sometimes it's just a matter. I mean, wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes from making a lot of bad choices and
yeah.
having a lot of failures.
You use the word surrender, man, and I think I talked a minute ago about being kind of relationally solid these days, and that's on one platform, and being all honesty and transparency, because that's what we do around here. I would say that my relationship with all of my kids are not as great as I would like for them to be. And so sometimes, I kind of grapple back and forth with that. Um, but learning to even surrender to some of those, they're getting to the point now, age wise. They're several years younger in these pictures than they are now. But, they're getting to the point age wise where they're making their own choices, their own decisions. And it's hard for me as a father to kind of sit back and surrender to that, to surrender to their decisions. Even, loving somebody is one thing, but loving them in the midst of their free will is something totally different. And so that's where the surrender part of that comes in, man. And again, it's even choices on that perspective. But yeah, in terms of choices over life, man, I look back and just even with the kids, man, I just look back and there's so many things that dots that have connected. But like Steve Jobs says, the dots only connect looking backwards.
Yeah.
And so all of those dots being choices in your life, they sometimes make sense, or you can see how they all weave together when you look back.
Yeah.
But just the whole idea choices, my choices, our choices, and other people's choices around us have huge impacts and effects on us. But you still didn't give me a number, man.
What do you mean I didn't give you a number?
You didn't give me a number. How many choices?
Man,
How many choices that have you made over your life? That how old are you again? Tell everybody.
45.
How
45.
many choices over 45 years have you made that have significant consequences right now
Oh,
in your life?
I would say probably you talk about significant consequences in my life now. There's probably about 10 to 15, and those are ones I think I've had to accept the consequences of and surrender to.
Mm,
Because we can spend, and I've done it for many years, spent a lot of my time looking back, going, well, what if? And
hmm.
if I had done different, if I knew better, and even though now I know better, I wouldn't have known
Hmm.
better then. And so
Yeah.
reminding myself, and this may be a good reminder to all of you too, don't look back on past choices and consequences in a negative way, thinking you could have done better then. You couldn't have, because you make the best choices you can in the moment. And
Mm,
it's only in hindsight being 2020 for that reason, now that you can see the whole picture, that you go, oh, I should have done this, or should have done that, or should have said this. In that moment, you did the best you could. Even
yeah.
if you know it wasn't the best you could have done at your peak, at that moment, that was the best you could do. And so you made that choice, and you dealt with
Yeah.
those consequences.
I don't know, man. When I think back and I think back over some of these choices that I made, um, I think flat out there was just some dumb, stupid choices. Like, I
Yeah.
can't say that in that moment, and I think that's what you were alluding to a second ago. I can't say in that moment like the highest evolution of me was making that choice. I mean, I'm a guy, right? So I have been times in my life where I was thinking with the wrong head,
Mhm.
right? And that has had consequences. Um, and so, I mean, the reality is the only one of my kids that was actually planned in terms of being in my life was my son, who was adopted. All of my three daughters were, I don't use the word accident, but they were unplanned in terms of, there's some couples that are, oh, we're trying to get pregnant and, oh, let's check the thing. Is it, I'd never had that
Right.
experience. Um, and so yeah, I mean, in terms of did I make the right choice or the best choices? I made a choice, and looking back, a broken stick can still draw a straight line.
Mhm.
So those choices that I made, or whether it be actively or passively, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were the end all be all, or the failure or downfall of who I am as a person.
Right. And that brings up a good point too, because even though if those were unplanned, those unplanned blessings of your girls, you still chose to take that consequence. You chose to take those as a blessing, and move forward, versus arguing or fighting, or denying the consequences and saying,
Right.
well, I didn't want plan that, or I didn't want that, so
Right.
I choose not to accept that. And that's,
Yeah.
I see a lot of that in the world today, where people just don't want to be held accountable to their choices, or don't want to be held accountable to even the fact that their choices have consequences. Like, oh, well, I didn't mean that, so I'm off the hook. It's like, no, you still ran into that car. There's still damage.
Yeah.
There's still people that have been affected, so there are still consequences. Do you
Yeah.
handle those consequences? Will you be held accountable? And that's just integrity, which you and I, we talk about that a lot with just doing men's work, because that's kind of part and parcel of being a man, is
Yeah.
having that integrity of, oops, I made a mistake. Here are the consequences. I'm still going to deal with those and accept those.
Yeah. And even looking back, I'll give some prime examples of, when I had a military career, right? And I did some stupid things in the military that didn't directly get me kicked out of the military, but indirectly it did, because, when they show up on performance reviews and all that kind of stuff, they kind of put a limit on your career. Well, if that career hadn't ended, um, I would not be in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I would have been, or could have been, a helicopter pilot in the Coast Guard, right? That was my original plan, and I'd gotten so far, I was like weeks away from going to naval flight school. Um, all that fell apart. Ended up relocating out here in Colorado. Even that marriage that I was in fell apart at the time, and but I ended up meeting my second wife. If I didn't live in Colorado, I wouldn't have even if I didn't live in Colorado and hadn't gotten divorced, I wouldn't have met her. And if I hadn't met her, I wouldn't have had my daughter, my youngest daughter. So she wouldn't be alive today. And then, had I not met my second wife, we wouldn't have adopted my son, he, who's to say what would have happened with him, but he wouldn't have this adopted family that he's into, that he's in as a part of now. And then on top of that, all the stuff, the interactions, the work that I've been doing, the things that I've done since I've been out here, a lot of the life changes and a lot of the awakening of who I am, all that stuff happened just from my experiences being here. So I can look back and I can say, man, that whole military thing was a complete failure. There's a lot of people. There are people right now who say that they are alive because of my intervention in their life. That's their words. And so I say that to say that, had all that not happened, then, what would have happened? I don't know all the if thens, but either way, the dots, do connect when you look backwards as the if thens.
That's one of the things I always forget. We have such a similar story because, I got a general discharge and, it was the same sort of being young and dumb and doing silly things and getting in trouble and getting out. And at the time, I thought it had ruined my life. I thought that was it. And when I look back on it now, it's like, well, if I had stayed in and done my first four and then probably would have re-upped because I didn't know what else to do. And I had been very lucky. You talk about serendipity. I was in between the two Gulf Wars. Mm-hmm. So I was doing Operation Provide Comfort, and it was just basically exercises and things. It wasn't actual warfare. So if I had stayed in, and then we went back to Iraq, we went back to Afghanistan, we did all those things, and I would have been in that. And just like you, if I had stayed in, I don't know that I'd ever have come to Colorado. I don't know I'd ever have done many of the things I've done now. I don't think would have ever been an author or a coach or any of those things.
Right.
My life would have been completely different. It'd been very regimented. And so looking at sometimes those consequences as blessings, because it's true. Every blessing is a curse, and every curse is a blessing.
Yeah.
And looking for the blessing for it, I think is probably the most healthy thing we can do.
Yeah.
We've all made decisions. We've all made choices that we can look back on and go, probably wasn't the best thing. But what did it lead to, though?
Right.
I mean, wisdom doesn't come from making all the right choices. Wisdom comes from failures and learning.
Right. And when it comes to those choices, and especially us as men, we got to own our stuff. Like we got to own our choices, whatever those choices are. And quite honestly, when I look back, my 2 failed marriages, I own those. Like I removed my exes from the equations. I mean, obviously it takes 2 to tango, but in my case, I say, had I been the man that I should have been, then maybe that would not have happened. So I got to own my choices, and us as men, we got to own our choices. I think, I think in terms of the family unit, I think men should probably take more responsibility for our failed family units, family structures, because I think, and I say that because I think most of us are not the man we should be in the context of our relationships. Now, again, we can't excuse women. Women have their own issues, our wives, or girlfriends, whomever, they have their own issues, but we got to own our stuff. And when we own our stuff, then, then we let all that take care of itself. If nothing else, we chose a woman like that.
Yeah.
So, so I think we as men, we got to own our choices. And then at the same time, we need to not have regret in terms of the consequences that have come from those choices. We got to be able to pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off, be who we need to be, and make better choices next time.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point when you take responsibility for those things. When you look at those consequences, like I did this was my role that I played. That's where we learn. If I had not looked at my past relationships and gone, I'm the common denominator, numero uno in all of this.
Yeah.
If I don't look at myself and look at my part in those things, I would not have grown and would not have learned. I would have basically kept doing the same thing over and over again because I wouldn't have learned the lesson yet.
Right.
And it's one of those things, especially as men nowadays, with so much of, just the legal system, just the world, just things kind of against us, especially when it comes to marriage.
Yeah.
We have to be very responsible in that. If we choose to marry, if we choose to get in a relationship, who are we in a relationship with? Who is this person? And knowing what what it is that we're going to be responsible for,
Right.
because nowadays you don't even have to get married. You can live with somebody, and if she has kids and decides to take you to court or whatever for child support, you may be paying. It doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be biologically your kid. So it's one of those things of looking at, what are these choices I'm making? Do I have all the information?
Yeah.
Do I know what I'm getting into? And I think a lot
Yeah.
of times that's where, I know when I was younger, I had no idea what I was getting into. I
Yeah.
was just following hormones and emotions and going, I think, being the hopeless romantic, I think I need to have this person. I think I need to be with this person. Not realizing that my own wounding was attracting their wounding, and we were
Yeah.
just being this wounded pair, looking at, oh, well, there's something wrong with you. No, no, there's something wrong with you. That back and forth thing, instead of looking at ourselves
Yeah.
going, what am I responsible for?
Hey, we've taken way too long to mention the fact that if somebody goes to our Mad Men Masculinity page, you can comment on this video and we can see your comments live.
Yes.
We took way too long to point that out. 20 minutes into this thing, if you got some feedback,
My
some
bad, John.
input, feel free to let us know. Most of you are, regulars anyway, and you kind of know the deal. But if you're watching this on one of our timelines, go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook or whatever, if you're watching this live, and you can put in comments and we can see them. Of course, if you're watching this after the fact, you can still comment. We see them. We'll comment back, like, subscribe, all this. I guess now we're streaming on YouTube now.
Yes,
We're
sir.
up in the game a little bit. Like our YouTube page and all those kinds of things, but sharing all those kind of stuff. But we'd love to get feedback. But I think us as men, like I will not get married again for sure, unless and until I am ready to make the conscious choice to be the man, and that I've proven not only to myself but to her that I am the man that I need to be to the woman that I want to be with in my life, and make that conscious choice, as opposed to just, oh well, here's what happened, and now we got to go with the flow. And a guy can have a scenario of, oh well, we're, I guess we're pregnant, so let's go get married, and that ain't a choice. That's like a default.
Yeah.
So to make the active and conscious choice, in order to make that, we got to be conscious men, and we got to elevate our level of consciousness. But to make the best choices, man, and to be able to own who we are and who we should be, so that our consequences, I don't even know if that's a negative word, and it kind of has negative connotation, I feel like, but maybe our
Results. I
consequences.
mean, you can
Yeah.
always shift consequences to results. I mean, and even results, often harsh, always fair.
Yeah.
You get what you get because of what you put in, and for especially for us guys nowadays, I mean, we definitely need to elevate our game. We need to have a plan. We need to have a structure. We need to have, because in my past, being the nice guy and going into relationships, which was really interesting, because when I wasn't chasing, when I wasn't looking for the relationship, I was much more in that kind of alpha state, because I was just hunting. I was just a
Yeah.
hunter. I was just looking for some tail, as it were. And then once I would get into relationships, I would do this complete 180. No
Yeah.
more structure, no more
Right.
frame, no more of
Mhm.
that leader. I'd stopped being the leader. I became the pacifist, beta
Mhm.
male, nice guy, which no woman wants.
Mhm.
They in whether they acknowledge it or not, a lot of times they go, I don't know who you are anymore. I remember I thought that she was the one. I thought we had all this connection and everything together. And I remember one day she's like, what? You used to be so confident. You
Mhm.
used to be so fun. What happened? And
Mhm.
I didn't have an answer for her, because I
Mhm.
was completely stuck in that. What do you need? What can I do?
Mhm.
Just tell me.
Mhm.
I'll do anything. Just let me.
Mhm.
And that's not how the relationship builds and grows.
Right.
There has to be that structure, there has to be that plan, there has to be the leadership, and the knowing that we're going in a direction together, versus oh, I don't know, what do you want? Well, I don't know, what do you want?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go to eat? I don't know, I don't care.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that's elevating our level of consciousness. So I just looked up the word consequence and Googled it, and it says a result or effect of an action or condition. So it doesn't really have a negative connotation, but I feel like a lot of times in our culture, in our language, we kind of give it a negative
Yep.
connotation. So I think when we make better choices, then we have better consequences.
Yes.
When we make stupider choices, we have stupider
Right.
consequences. I mean, and so I think, speaking to as far as us as men, I think when we evolve to the higher levels that we need to be, then I think we can, have a whole different viewpoint of perspective, and again, make better choices. And when we make better choices, then we have better consequences, and we don't have to worry about getting caught or getting
Mhm.
busted or getting whatever. Or, you know, I mean, how many of us are broke, busted, and disgusted because of the stupid choices?
Yeah. Or, I mean, it brings up a great point too. I mean, if you don't have a plan, if you're not making choices and you're just going along,
Mm-hmm.
then how do you know what consequences or results you're going to get? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, no choice is still a choice.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not steering the ship, you're not avoiding the iceberg or going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So if you're not making choices, I think a lot of us fall into that a lot of times if we're not leading our lives, if we're not deciding what I want for me and who is going to be the best support for that or the best partner for that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, oh, she's cute. Let me go along and do this. Or,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is the only job I could get. So I'm just going to go along with that. No
Yeah.
plan. And then we're upset because we're not having the results or having the consequences that we want.
Yeah.
And we're all in that victim mindset of, oh, well, this is all I could do.
Yeah.
You didn't make a
You
choice.
that's brilliant though. No choice is still a choice, because I do think, I look back over my life, man. There's so many times where, I mean, there were so many times where I didn't actually make it. Like, I wasn't actively choosing this, whatever this was.
Right.
I was just like stumbling into this or stumbling into that or whatever it was. I wasn't choosing, this company or this career or this whatever. I mean, I wasn't choosing this relationship or this marriage or whatever. I wasn't choosing. I was just kind of defaulting into it,
Yeah.
and as a result, I'm a two-time offender. And so, so I think the whole notion of, when we, especially as men, don't make conscious choices, then we're making a choice, whether it's conscious or subconscious. I don't know, but the whole idea of
Or the
us,
choices are getting making for us. I
right,
mean, a lot of
right,
times
which means you choose to default, pass along the choice or the option. It's
yeah.
like letting somebody else pick what you're going to eat for dinner.
Well, it's like what are we gonna wear? Where are we gonna go?
Yeah,
If you don't have that plan or even an idea or some kind of frame around who you are, what you want, where you're going,
right,
and you're just along for the ride,
right,
well, that's not attractive. One plus
right,
now you're the victim of somebody else, which I
right.
guess in some fashion in our American culture that's can be a positive to some people because
Yeah,
of that victim mentality of, oh, well, it's not my fault. And so I don't
right.
want to take responsibility because that's the other thing too. Once you are making choices, once you are setting a plan and a frame, you are responsible for the consequences and the
Mm-hmm.
results.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't blame anybody else. Did
Yeah.
did you get into that business deal? Did you read the terms or did you just sign on
Right.
dotted line? Did
Right.
you try to renegotiate? Well, then you can't complain about the deal you're in because
Right.
you just accepted that was your choice. You just accepted what was given to you without finding out if that's what is really best for you.
And the last thing we need in our culture is more passive men.
Mhm.
I think, even, and I hear this a lot in the dating world from, from women, that the whole idea of a man making a plan for a date, even, and just choosing, like, hey, we're gonna, you know, I made a plan. All you got to do is get ready. Like, I got this kind of thing, and or being at a restaurant, and her having an option, her saying, what do you think about this or that, and you just being able to say, well, how about that, or her saying, this outfit or that outfit, well, that one, and but being able to offer some level of choice, some level of definition,
Yeah.
some definitive something, is a benefit to the femininity around the masculinity. Masculinity is partly direction, and so if we're not choosing and actively moving in that direction, then we're defaulting or relegating, uh, abdicating
Mhm.
part of our role and responsibility as the masculine being.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talked about it at the last one we did, equality versus equity, and it's the same sort of thing where there are a lot of ladies out there who are tired now. They're tired because they're not finding men who are making choices. They're not finding men who have a
Mm-hmm.
direction. They're not finding those men who can lead anymore. They're
Mm-hmm.
always just chasing their skirt tails, going, "What do you need? What do you want?" And of
Right.
course, on the other hand, I mean, we also have to like point out too that when we talk about relationships, we talk about the sexuality. You need to have that polarity.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, if you're being the beta, about the only polarity you can find is the alpha woman who is going to give you a plan if you don't have one. She's going to tell you what to do, and if you don't like it, you better step up the game or
Yeah.
get in line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I think one of our gifts as men when we operate in our masculinity is the ability to make choices, the ability to bring clarity, to bring definition, to bring those kind of things into a room or into a situation. And so, maybe most of our bad choices are opportunities where it really comes down to we didn't make a conscious choice.
Yeah.
Like we didn't actually choose, we just kind of defaulted. The guy that cheats, maybe he didn't necessarily make a conscious choice to cheat, but maybe he just found himself, with somebody throwing some tail in his face, and he just kind of okay,
All right, you're here.
maybe that happens more often than not, where it's opportunity and you just kind of stumble into the opportunity. But I think when we operate in the gifts we take back our power as men in that area, and power is not dominance. When we take back the power and the gift that we have to help move the whatever it is, move the ball down the field, it's in the choices that we make. I mean, the active choices that we make. I think about football. Every play, somebody says, "Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run a Y Spider X90." Bam. Okay, let's do this. So we offer that as a gift, and maybe most of where we fail is when we don't make active, conscious choices from a higher level of consciousness as men.
Or even just part of that. I think what struggles so much, I mean, with nice guy syndrome and beta males and all this stuff, the whole, you know, not having a plan, not in not having a plan for your life, taking the plan that was given to you, taking a plan that, oh, well, this is what my parents did, so this is what I'm gonna do, or this is what this,
Mhm.
and then you get into that, you get older and go, well, I didn't do any of this for me. Then you have
Right.
a midlife crisis and change your life around.
Right.
I was listening to Rational Male audiobook, and there was a great definition of confidence. And
Hmm.
if you're lacking in confidence, it's because you're not making choices. Because confidence is being able to make choices and knowing that you've made those choices in the past and that you've had a certain outcome. And
Hmm.
and that's where the confidence comes from. That's where the experience comes from, because you go, I've made these choices in the past and
Yeah.
I've had these results, so I'm pretty confident that I might have a similar result. So if you're
Yeah.
not making choices, I guarantee you probably don't are lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
And I know it's
Yeah.
been that was one of my biggest issues in the past. I started to lack confidence because I stopped making choices. I stopped directing my life and going, what do I want?
Yeah.
Where do I want to go?
And is the chicken or the egg? The confidence versus the choices. Which one first? Yes. Um, I think um, that is something that we need to be aware of, that the two do go hand in hand. And when you make a conscious choice, whatever the outcome is, again, the word consequence not being, there's no value associated to it inherently. But when you make a conscious choice, then you can at least own the consequence of, okay, this came from a conscious choice, and if it's a consequence that I don't like, then maybe I need to go back to my level of consciousness around the choices that I made. But either way, you can own it. You can own it just because you made it actively, and it wasn't something that you just kind of stumbled into.
Well, I know in my experience, one of the things that I kind of gleaned onto growing up was this fear of failure, this fear of not being enough, or making the wrong choices, so then I wouldn't make a choice. But to coin, Gary Barnes' good, amazing saying, launch and adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Make a choice and adjust. If you
Yeah.
don't make a choice, then how can you adjust? I mean, if you
Right.
haven't taken off, how can you follow the compass to your destination and make those
Yeah.
little adjustments? If you're still on the ground, you're still there.
Yeah.
So making
Yeah.
those choices. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's part and parcel of what has started to become a real issue, especially for men, is we've stopped giving ourselves permission and taking the power of our own choice. We keep
Yeah.
abdicating our choice to the ladies in our lives, or to our work, or to this or to that, or maybe we
Right.
were told that we were going to get this job and we did it just because we wanted to make our parents proud, but we
Yeah.
didn't decide what we wanted and make those
Hmm.
choices that would empower ourselves and make us that better man.
And maybe it's a fear of failure. Maybe it's a fear of failure from the choices that we make. And in reality, failure is it's not a person. It's an instance. It's a moment. And so, I think when you do make those choices, when you make an active choice, um, then you can maybe you're better equipped to surrender to the consequence of that choice. Like, I decided if somebody says, I decided to go out and start my own business, and well, it didn't work out. Okay. I mean, well, if the business isn't successful, well, you know what? I made a choice and I went for it. It didn't work out. So now what? Now I regroup and whatever.
Yeah.
But we can't be afraid to fail in the choices that we make. If we're choosing a date night for our woman, um, you know, if it turns out now, if it turns out to not be a huge success, okay, well, I know what not to do next time. I know what choice not to make next time. Maybe she doesn't, want to go kart racing. Maybe she'd rather whatever. Maybe she'd rather, I don't know, go to the spa or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is. But either way, when you make choices actively, then at least if they don't go right, you own the consequence and you know what choices not to make next time.
Yeah. I think failure should be the new guidepost, or should be something that we look at as a positive. Because all the masters in the world failed more times than the amateurs have even tried.
Mm-hmm.
They've given it a go and figured out what worked and what didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things, if I ever have kids, that's going to be something I want them to fail as often as possible. And because failure is just an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that didn't work. That's a result. How I feel about it is my opinion. Oh, I'm a
Right.
failure. No,
Right.
that thing didn't work. Now what maybe use some intelligence, use some ingenuity and find a new
Yeah.
solution,
Yeah.
instead of being afraid of that failure. And
Yeah.
yeah, for the guys out there, especially if you're not dating, or if you're feeling like a failure, or you're feeling like you just are lacking that confidence, you're lacking that beingness of being a man. Start making choices.
Mm-hmm.
Start making choices for you. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you're not making choices, then you're gonna feel like a failure. If you're
Yeah.
not making choices, you're gonna feel like a victim. Start making choices, something you want. Don't
Mm-hmm.
ask anybody else, what do you want to do? And
Yeah.
then start from there and start making more choices. Because when you start making choices and start guiding your life and have a plan and have a frame for your life, then you will be more attractive and more successful and
Right.
not so afraid of failure.
Yeah. And the world needs that. The world needs that. The world needs guys. The world needs men making more conscious choices, man. And just, whatever that looks like, man. Good choices for your life, man. Not just defaulting in. I have had experiences in my life, past life of addiction. I work with even some people that are in that realm, and thinking about that whole headspace. Even when you're in an addictive headspace, you're not making a choice. You're not making a choice, which is making a choice, but
Yeah.
that's not active choosing. Like that, people get frustrated by the addict saying, why don't they just stop, or don't they understand what they're doing to their family? Yes and no. I mean, they probably more so than no. Like, they're not actively choosing that. They're just defaulting to give in to whatever that craving is. But either way, it's an act of not choosing to be the person that they want to be. So, I think we need to elevate our consciousness. I think we need to. I don't know if I'm lining up for the runway, but I think we need to elevate our consciousness. And I think we need to make conscious choices, more of them, and better choices, and then own and surrender to the consequences. Surrender to the moment, surrender to the outcome of those choices in terms of whether it was successful or not so successful. Um, but
Well,
yeah, I mean, those are all
especially,
part of life.
nowadays, they've been the ubiquitous they. They're always the divide and conquer sort of thing, and now it seems to be, now they want to divide men and women. And so choices and consequences, we need to turn that into a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go up and talk to her? Did she blow you off? Okay, so what?
Right,
You made a
right,
choice. You put yourself out there. I think in my experience, especially in most of my life, I was so afraid of the consequence or the result that I wouldn't make the choice or make an effort.
mm-hmm.
And now it's like, well, what was I afraid of? She was gonna say no, or
Right, right, right.
like, oh, I was afraid that somebody else was gonna make a choice for me and I wasn't gonna like it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
where does the fear come from? Because choices and consequences, like you said, are neutral. They're
yeah.
just things. They're just results.
Hmm.
But if we don't make choices, if we don't accept the consequences, how do we learn? How do we grow? How do we become that better man
Yeah,
that needs to be leading the world, leading their life?
yeah,
We can't.
mhm, yeah. And I mean, it's taking our power back as men, not power back from women. I'm talking about power back from the world, power back from culture, power back from the default, power back from our wounds,
Yeah.
power. I mean, becoming the highest evolution that we can be as men, um, so that we can be everything that this world, including the people around us, need to be as men.
Yeah, I mean that made me think of something too. If you're watching the news or watching some politician or something like that, and allowing them to dictate your fears and your life and things like that, then you're not choosing. Look at your
Yeah,
life, decide what you want, and
yeah,
go along as much as you can. But it's still at the end of the day, and I think that's one of the most empowering things. Most men on their deathbed have more regrets about the choices they didn't make, more regrets about chances they didn't take than the ones they did and failed
yeah,
at. It's always better to choose and fail or choose and
yeah.
have a negative consequence and learn from than not to choose at all.
And I've heard more complaints from women about men's lack of choices
Mhm.
or ability to choose than a man's ability to choose and make decision and set direction.
Yeah,
It's not a turn off; it's a turn on when you can make direction or when
yeah.
you can make choices and
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 don't be and guys, don't be afraid of making the wrong choice with ladies because there's no way we can make them happy every choice we make anyway. So they would
mm,
much rather we choose something than nothing at all. So choose.
yeah, choose and hopefully choose wisely, but hopefully choose from the highest evolution of who you are. Most of our biggest regrets probably come from moments where we chose actively or passively out of a lower vibration of who we should be as men, a lower evolution of who we could be as a man.
But be gentle with it. I mean, and I've had to be gentle with myself as well because I have made
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
those lower vibrational,
yeah.
lower choices.
Hmm.
But if I don't look at those and take responsibility for
Right.
those, how am I to grow? So be
Yeah.
gentle with yourself in this exploration of choosing and taking your life back and taking your power back. Because if you're feeling disempowered or feeling a lack of confidence or feeling less than a man,
Yeah.
it just starts with choices. Taking
Right.
your life back, taking your power back, going, what do I, the big I and the little I, what do
Yeah.
I need for me to make me happy and move forward?
Yeah. Um, what does Amy say? Hey guys, yes, input and discussion is what women want from their partner. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Boom. Amy just mic dropped us.
There it is.
Amy just mic dropped us. She's secondary secondary motion.
That's it.
And yeah, I mean, I think the world needs that from men. Our kids need that from us as men. Our women, the women in our lives need that from us as
And
men.
guys, you need it for yourself.
And we need it for ourselves and we need it for from each other.
Yeah.
We even went back and forth just with just topics and stuff. What do we
Yeah.
do? Well, how about we boom, we'll do this.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we just roll with it, man.
Yeah.
And nobody knows the difference of the other stuff that we consider talking about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We went ahead with our gut and we made it happen. But yeah, and the world is a better place for it. So
And that's a good point too, because guys, you got to have other guys in your lives because they'll
yes,
keep you from going off the deep end too far. Because I know some of the things I threw at Kirk, he was like, I'm not sure we want to go there." Which
yeah,
is, if I didn't have my man to check me a little bit, we might have been censored and off the air and canceled.
right. Right, and that's just brothers. That's just brothers being real. You gotta have brothers in your life, and you that way for me. You've done that in other ways, but for me, but we gotta have because we're not isolated in this whole thing. And that's even with choices, yes, there's input, there's feedback. Yeah, you surround yourself by people that you respect, that you admire, that you have some kind of connection with, and you get feedback from folks and let folks help you make those choices. You don't walk into a house dictate to everybody what the choice is going to be. You take feedback and all that kind of stuff, but there are times where your woman will just look at you and say, what do you think, this or that? And she just wants you to say that and stop talking, like, not well that, but if you like that, no, that one I don't like. That, do you like, you're scrolling through dresses, do you like that one? Nope. Do you like that one? Nope. Do you like that one? Yes. Boom. I mean, so, but yeah, feedback, and having your circle kind of provide feedback from that can absolutely help you make the best choices in life.
Yeah, feedback is not a negative consequence. Feedback
Mhm.
is information. I think
Right,
that's something huge, and we touched on it. Just because your choices have results and consequences doesn't mean they're negative.
right,
We get such a negative, fearful mindset of, oh, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I'm a
yeah,
failure? Well, find out. I know I've
yeah,
been a failure. Guess what? I'm less of a failure today than I was.
yeah. Likewise, likewise. I ain't where I could have been, but I'm surely not where I was.
Right.
So anyhow, all
We're
right,
always
brother. I
moving
think we're I
forward.
think we're touching down on the runway here, man. Uh,
We're lining up.
I think we're touched down on this one, man. I
Yes.
think I think the whole idea of making better choices, more informed choices from a higher vibration, a higher consciousness, involving input from those around us, but absolutely being able to make choices and to own consequences, good or bad, and to surrender to outcomes, understanding that when you look backwards, the dots will connect and it'll all make sense. Even your greatest failures can lead to something beautiful. Quite honestly, these kids above my head wouldn't be alive right now if it wasn't for at least one, if not more, of the biggest failures that I've ever made in my life. So, um, so yeah, I mean, those
Man, this
dots
is
will
good
connect.
stuff. I gotta write this down, man. Keep
Yeah,
talking.
it's so
Hmm.
true, man. And they don't even realize. I mean, that my mistakes have led to their existence. But it is what it is, man. But it will work out. The dots will connect, but we got to make those choices and just better choices equal better consequences. So,
Yes,
brother, I
absolutely.
appreciate you, my man.
Love you. Love y'all.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need 100
Share.
people so we can make this a for real Madman channel and
Absolutely.
get the word spread.
Thank you, Amy, for your feedback. We
Thank
love
you,
you.
Amy. We love you.
And
Thank you for being our
you know,
subscriber and a lover and a
absolutely.
partner and
And
a
we'll look for
friend.
your feedback next time. Amy's
Yes,
dope.
good times, fun stuff. We love y'all. Happy Easter. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.